That is a very big question. Very important question for me too. It changed my life. Um, I was one of Halliday's students in his last year before he retired, and I just remember him saying things like, "You need a delicate model of language for a delicate phenomenon like language." The gentleness of that statement and its profound power has stayed with me, and I've used the model in its complexity and delicacy and difficulty throughout my life.
What does SFL mean to me? It means everything. It means now I look at everything from a social semiotic perspective.
SFL provided me with important theoretical and practical knowledge so that I can successfully complete my PhD thesis. And I used to present my part of my PhD thesis at the conference 2 years ago. And thank you very much for all the constructive feedback from the experts of the SFL conference.
Yeah, I guess for me, SFL is about social justice. Really important, I think. Well, I mean, the tools of SFL are really good at helping to provide equal access. So in education, for example, you can sort of reveal the underlying systems and structures beneath English and other semiotic systems.
I'm a novice social scientist conducting interdisciplinary research in both linguistics and higher education. The use of SFL deepens my understanding of not only language education, but pedagogical practices and the broader context of higher education.
Systemic linguistics is only one of my sources of inspiration, but a very important one, because it has allowed meaningful extension of linguistics into other modes of communication, because it's a sort of functionally and semantically based theory. So you can ask, how are these same functions realized in different modes? But of course, then you have to also study, those modes themselves, and you can't only linguistics cannot be your only frame of reference. But it has been very important to me, and I've had the good fortune in the mid-80s to discover it while I had been studying other forms of linguistics before, and still at the end of Michael Halliday still teaching, and I learned a lot from Jim Martin. So yes, it's been very important for me.
I think the key point for me is its applicability, where applicability means both the kind of development of theory, not to a particular purpose as such, but a broad, flexible theory that then can be applied in a way that feeds back, so that dialectic between theory and practice.
So that's such a hard question, because I think it has influenced the way I think about life and the world, and the way I understand life and the world. Just having tools for thinking with, tools for analysing meaning and language, whether it's spoken or written or image, it's just invaluable for understanding life. And so it kind of underpins everything as far as I'm concerned.
I think SFL means to me that we always need to consider language and its social context, and how the analysis of language can be used to solve real-world problems. And I think it's these kind of philosophies behind SFL that have just inspired me to make sure my work always addresses important societal concerns.
SFL has given me a creative space to work within, both taking existing theory off the shelf that other smarter people have developed and being able to work with that, but then also to be able to build on that and to be able to work in new areas and just generally have a lot of fun as a researcher. So I'm really grateful to have a community that doesn't squash their emerging scholars, that gives us a space to be creative and to do what we want to do with the theory.
Yeah, SFL is, for me, an approach that enables me to consider and investigate any form of communication using some core principles that come from SFL. And that's the relation of communication practices to social context, and the SFL connection between meaning as choice and its actual realization or manifestation in something explicit. So claims about meaning have to be explicitly present in the communicative text that you're looking at. Yes, and also the wealth of tools available for doing analyses of different types and on different types of texts, and the metafunctional notion of meaning, that meaning is not just one thing, it's multiple types of meaning that all work together. I find that particularly interesting.
For me, I think it's more about meaning and meaning making, what to say and what not to say. This is always in my mind, how you are saying something and the way you are avoid saying something. So it's more about meaning and how you want to mean and how you want others to interpret you. This is the basic things in SFL for me.
Oh, well, I guess the biggest thing is the tool for designing effective literacy pedagogy and addressing injustices in the education practice, particularly for Indigenous Australians, but ultimately for democratising classrooms. It's also enabled me to understand how language works, not only world languages like English, but First Nations languages, but including my own second language, which is Pitjantjatjara from Central Australia. And thirdly, it's brought me into a community of scholars who share my interest in how language works and my commitment to social justice.
I think what inspires me about SFL is its ability to help people see aspects of language that are otherwise hidden, and therefore that gives them agency in how they use that language. So that's kind of what underpins my own work.
SFL is fascinating because it provides us with this enormous toolkit that we can use to study pretty much any topic. But to me personally, since my work deals with topics which undermine social progress, like violent extremism or information warfare, SFL will always provide me with a way of looking at the world that's rooted in social justice, critical knowledge building, and inclusiveness.